Let's all scream. Let's all scream. Scream, scream, let's all scream.
Hi everyone, welcome to Let's All Scream. I'm Hassan Al Marashi,
I'm Shehlaa Ali.
And I'm Saleh Al Braik.
and welcome to our latest episode. How was your week, guys?
My week was good. It was busy. I just had a bunch of different things to get done, and I've just been doing checklists in the beginning of the week of things I want to get done.
know. I've been on leave and you've been making me help you complete the...
You are officially done with your leave?
Yes,
Yeah.
today was
Oh.
the last day.
Are
Or not
you-
the last day, the
The
first
first day
day
back.
of the first day back at work, yeah.
Okay.
I can tell. I can see the tears and feel them.
Did you feel like it was a good...
No, because of me.
No, not really, because I mean, no, it was a break. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say good or bad. It was a break. I needed it, but I fully in rest and relaxation mode. No, I had work to do,
Okay.
and
So you did, you did during the week get dragged into work?
I did a little bit, and also into housework. Nudge, nudge, poke, poke.
So what I
Shehlaa.
did was, I really wanted to declutter the house,
Yeah.
and I'm in a declutter, a cleaning mode slash zone.
What's that? Who's that person? She's like the expert of
What's her
organizing.
name?
Marie Kondo.
Maria,
Yeah. So you condoed him.
I
Marie-
basically,
yeah.
yeah. I went through all the bookshelves and we just literally organized.
Basically, we figured out that nothing brings us joy, and so we were getting rid of so many things.
but no, it was nice because we found so many of his childhood books. And
Oh, is that why you guys were sending me pictures of old drawings?
yeah,
and stuff like that?
because we
Yeah,
were going through old
Okay.
notebooks.
That's why I thought to myself, I was like, why is Shehlaa sending me pictures of drawings that Hassan
Drew?
Hassan drew when we were kids, and I remember them.
Yeah.
I was like, is she going through the books, or is she? I don't know.
No, yeah. Basically, we have these. You know them, Saleh. These big bookshelves in our living room upstairs, and it's filled with books from when we were kids, and also not just books, but even notebooks and just little knickknacks and
Arts
stuff.
and
it
crafts that
it
even the
just
paint
has
were
not
just
been
old.
touched in years, because it's just such a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
And now if you go upstairs, it's completely emptied out.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Because
Yeah.
so basically the legs are wobbly, and
Yeah.
I keep telling myself, or keep telling hint Hassan, that I want to clean it out, basically lay them down and try to fix the legs, just especially because of the baby. I'm so scared
Or
that
replace them with new ones if they can't
Yeah.
be fixed.
just because with the baby, I'm so scared that she's gonna touch one, and then it's just, literally that's all I imagine
Yeah,
is
of
in that
course.
living room. If she touches one, the rest are just gonna topple over.
Yeah.
So I'm I need to feel like this is safe.
Yeah.
So when he took this week off, I'm like, you know what? I think this is the time. This is my moment.
Yes, when my husband has been saying for weeks that he needs a break, I'm gonna bombard him
don't-
with more work.
but don't you feel better?
I
No.
mean,
No,
No,
I
you-
know, I'm joking. Yes, I do. It feels really good to finally get this, because it's one of those things, where you always say, "Oh, we'll get to it," and you never do it.
Yeah.
and because
So it's nice to finally have it
you know
almost
this,
done.
yeah, you know this lot. That bookshelf is massive, and it's just it's not massive. It just has a lot of things.
Yeah.
So
No, I don't even remember. I actually don't even remember the last time it was cleaned. Not cleaned, but it always
gone
looked
through,
cluttered.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because exactly, I always open it. I always switch things out. I'll take out one or two items that I can tell need to be cleaned out,
Mm-hmm.
but then I don't clean out the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so I always say I'm gonna do it. So now I'm like, aha, and I did it.
Well, see, at least now you can look back at this week and know that you did something. I mean, yeah, Hassan's giving if you
Giving
guys
him such a good
Side eye.
if you literal side eye. My
So,
weekend
yeah.
was good. I think.
Yeah, let's shift the topic over to you. How was your week?
My week was okay.
didn't involve any cleaning.
It did not. No,
No.
it didn't involve any cleaning. To be honest.
Well, it kind of did. You cleaned your face.
Oh,
You-
yes.
You went to the
Yeah.
barber for the
Oh.
first time.
There
It
you
was the
go.
first time. So for those that are not familiar with the Middle Eastern facial hair of the male species, but obviously I go to the barber once a week if I can. But yeah, I would say once a week is my standard time of going to the barber, and it's usually facial hair as well.
Yeah.
And I realized that the last time I went to the barber was early March, if not end of February, because that's when the obviously
lockdown.
the lockdown started. And even before the lockdown, people were getting sensitive about where to go. And obviously, the first place where you kind of felt a bit not unsafe, but a bit like iffy about would be the
Yeah.
barber, because for us, for those who again don't know, when obviously they're grooming the your facial hair, they get very up
Touch.
close and personal.
Yeah.
They obviously touch your cheeks and touch your chin
Yeah.
and etc. So you're trying your best to kind of avoid that human contact at that time. So yeah, so March, April, May, June. July. So it's almost been 5 months.
During this time, Hassan, who was your
Hassan was my personal barber. Thank you. A round of applause for Hassan. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll be adding to my roster of services in addition
Resume?
to my resume. In addition to therapy, I now offer haircuts and beard trims.
Don't forget LinkedIn.
What do you mean?
To add it on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, I'll add it
As
on
an
my LinkedIn.
experience.
Yes, yeah.
I'll call it CSR, corporate social responsibility. But it was I booked it because I had a project to do yesterday that required me to look like a human being, and so I was a bit nervous. But then I thought to myself, I was like, it's been 5 months. Everywhere, the way I see it right now is that the entire city or even the human race are being brainwashed to be cleaner, to sanitize, to be safe, to wear masks, etc.
Yeah.
The barber that I'm used to going to for how many years now, before the entire pandemic started, they were always wearing masks and they were always wearing gloves. So they were always, I could see them, they were always sanitizing the equipment that they
Yeah.
use. So I felt like, okay, so if they were cautious about it before, then they
They
should
should
be
be.
even more cautious now. Also, I had 2 guinea pigs go in front of me, which was my 2 brothers. They told me that they both had gone in the past 2 to 3 weeks,
Yeah.
and they said it was really
Fine.
clean and fine. So I tested it out. So it feels really weird. I don't know how to explain it. It's a difference from when you go to an actual barber and when you do
Yeah.
it at home.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say? My services aren't good enough for
No,
you?
although very good, but even like you guys, when I walked in, you were like,
No,
look
yeah, no, I can tell.
cleaner.
It looks
Yeah.
really good. Yeah,
you know,
no,
even-
they
It
did
looks
good
like a
job.
professional rather
Yeah.
than a home done.
No, they
No
did
offense.
a really good job.
Yeah, and then when I went to the office, I actually had my colleague who literally is my neighbor in terms of like table.
Yeah.
She just looked at me and she was like, I didn't recognize you when you removed your mask. I
Yeah.
didn't recognize who you were until I obviously focused. But I think it's just...
I
it's
just
been a while,
realized what
that's
it
all.
is. Your beard, when Hassan does it, he doesn't do it that thin.
Yes.
He does it much thicker.
Yeah.
And you tell him, I always tell him, yeah, leave it. It's okay.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
much thicker. No, this is the first time you've had it this thin
In
for
a
this
while.
long. Yeah.
So, goodbye.
So Hassan, you can retire now.
Well, I don't know.
Well,
Let's
I'm
keep him
open
on
to,
standby.
yeah, you never know what happens, and I'm open to other clients. So if you want, you can hit me up.
and yeah, Shehlaa
I
was...
charge. Trying to make it. I'm trying to see how many clients would I need so I can retire.
Okay, yeah, that's gonna be a long waiting
Yeah.
list. And Shehlaa was always playing the attendee, so she would always watch the transformation happen.
Yeah.
Her and the baby would just be watching, and the baby would just watch me, and she'd be like, "What is my dad doing? Like, and what is this phenomenon that's taking place in front of me?"
Because she never sees actually Hassan because he always goes into the bathroom and
Yeah.
shaves.
So I'm like
So he never-
the experiment
Yeah,
in
so
front of her.
She's like, "What's my dad doing to this man?"
But I just think to myself, I'm like, like the more back to somewhat normal that we're going to,
Yeah.
the more I feel like are we taking this all in? Are we realizing that what exactly we have all just gone through? Like
Yeah.
the fact
And
that
are still
see-
going through.
and are still going through, but
That's
like the
what
fact
I'm-
that yani, like, okay, so at least I would say I am comfortable, maybe not like before every week to go
Yeah.
to the barber, but maybe every 2 weeks or so. But then the idea of I'm gonna do it at home now and I can't go to the barber is, I would hope, be a thing of the past. And now I'm thinking, okay, so that's one thing that was my, I would say, quarantine ritual
Yeah.
is now in the past. So in my head,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, so I lived, through these like
Yeah.
changes,
See, that's the thing. Like,
although small change,
whenever,
but like one
yeah,
of them.
whenever I go out, I'm like, am I taking the right precautions? Am I overstepping? Should I be more cautious? I feel like, okay, I have like guilt and just, I don't know what it is. I go through all these different emotions
I
thinking,
think all of us, yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think, and it's just like you said, it's like, do I realize how weird this is? And then I actually think to myself, this is actually quite weird. Like yesterday, I realized, Hassan, we haven't sat at a restaurant
Yeah.
in over 4 or 5 months,
Yeah.
and that's
Imagine.
crazy.
And like we used to love going to
We used to
restaurants.
go out like literally almost every week or every 2 weeks, and now it's like, what? Like,
Although,
I don't
like-
even remember how it feels like.
And I think everyone goes through their own, like, you take your own steps towards being ready
And
Yeah.
to adapting,
and adapting because-
again
Exactly.
to how things.
And I
kinda
feel
used to
like
be.
there are people, like, for example, I have a colleague who, whenever she walks in, she always, sprays down the table
Disinfects
and
everything.
disinfects everything. And she looks at me and sometimes she laughs. And so today I asked her, I was like, why are you laughing, or why? She says, I don't know, I feel embarrassed. I'm like, no, you're not. Like, why are you embarrassed? She goes, because people might just, think I'm a bit extra or weird. I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, whatever makes you feel comfortable, do
Yeah.
it. Because
Yeah.
what we had gone through is obviously such a huge thing that affects all of us. So if you feel like, hey, I'm not okay to go out today, you're not okay. If
Yeah.
you feel like you want to take an extra spray, like and it's funny, it even links to the barber story. So I was sat, and he obviously sanitized everything before I sat. But the guy who came next to me, which is a mutual friend, when he had sat down, he also saw the barber, sanitize
Disinfect,
everything and
yeah.
disinfect. Even after he disinfected, he took a spray of disinfectant out and
he
did it in
sprayed.
front of the barber. And he was like, just to be safe. And then he looked at me and he was like, trying to justify. And I was like, hey, you don't need to justify.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
one needs to justify
Yeah.
being extra careful.
That's what Hassan told me also recently. I don't remember what it was. Either we had a relative come over. No, not a relative. I don't even remember. But I was like, I feel bad saying I'm sorry, but I don't feel comfortable hugging or shaking hands. He's like, nobody right now tells you, oh, you should feel bad, because in moments like this,
Yeah.
we're all going through it. Everyone has experienced what you're experiencing.
For sure. Like حتى which maybe people that maybe are not in the region might not know, is obviously Eid is around the corner again. So Eid al-Adha is coming up towards the end of the month. And I asked, I was actually thinking about it, and I was like, oh, we're about, I think it is maybe less than 3 weeks away.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, okay, less than 3 weeks away. And I asked my aunt, and I was like, so this Eid, are you going to be doing any of the regular Eid practices, like
Right.
Eid dinners, or are you going to open your house? So the thing is,
Yeah.
for those obviously, again, who are not familiar, houses are open and majlises are open to welcome different family members to commemorate the Eid and to come and do Eid greetings and so on. So she was like, no. And I was like, do you think
No
others?
hesitation.
Yeah, she was like, do you think others? She was like, I don't know if others are going to open. She's like, I doubt. And I also feel like I doubt, obviously, people will be opening their houses in
Yeah.
this Eid, and will probably be celebrating it from afar like we did last Eid. But again, she was like, whatever people are comfortable with, they are. But I
Yeah.
have already made my rounds verbally, and I told everyone, my
That's-
house is closed.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's again, it's everyone in their own time, people in their own, what we don't know what happens in the next 3
Yeah.
weeks. Things could change. But I think it's the way that we have to kind of adapt and go back to things now.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that we are all going through, something that we have all been doing during this quarantine, more or less, is eating.
Dancing. Oh.
I wish I was that physically active. No, definitely eating. I think whether you've been on a health kick or not, I think it's hard to deny that we've probably had more meals than we would have had we not
Normally.
been in self-isolation or quarantine. Because if you think about, like, for example, me, when I used to go to the office, I wouldn't have breakfast in the morning. I'd just go barely have lunch, and then it
Yeah.
would just be a late afternoon lunch / early dinner, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And then maybe a snack or something.
Yeah.
But during quarantine, food has been really at the center of.
It's like every morning, what are you having for breakfast?
Yeah.
Right after breakfast, what are you having for lunch?
And the thing is, by the way, and also let's not forget, it's not just the eating habits, or I would say the availability of being at home, and obviously having these like meal structures, the new meal structures coming on.
Yeah.
But I think it's the panic buying, because I feel like there was this whole rush of, oh my god, I'm gonna be stuck at home, and we didn't know, right? They didn't
Yeah.
announce that there was gonna be a lockdown or anything, but what we saw from across the world, specifically Italy at the time, was that it was going through a lockdown, and we were like, if we're gonna get stuck for 1 month, literally, I remember people were WhatsApping in different family groups 1
The
month
recipes.
worth of supplies
Yeah, I
of
remember.
things of like what to buy that
Yeah.
will last you a month. So
Yeah.
panic
God.
buying, more supply at home, more food.
And this brings us to our topic today, which is food. And we wanted to talk about food because there's so much that centers around it. So obviously with the whole lockdown, if you live with your family or, I don't know, roommates or whatever, that probably means that you're eating meals with people more frequently than maybe you used to.
Yeah.
Ironically.
Yes.
Like, at least with our family, we've definitely had more family meals than we've ever had before.
Yeah.
Like our family meals used to be, everyone eats on their own, sort of. Like
Yeah.
Hassan's dad, because he has his own little time, like he'll wake up or something. So then we'll just sit down with him sometimes, snack or something, but not really eat.
Yeah.
And then we'll have like lunch earlier or like dinner early, and then Hassan's sister also either like she goes out or comes back in, like everyone had their own little schedule.
Routine.
Whereas now lunchtime, we say lunchtime, everyone, Hassan's dad, his sister, everyone's sitting there having lunch.
Yeah.
Dinner, we always also either, depends, but like have soup, same thing.
Yeah.
So when it comes to food, I think there's a lot of things you can talk about, but I wanted to kind of discuss a few things. What food triggers in us in terms of what foods do we go to when we want comfort. What kind of foods trigger fond memories? What foods do we think of when we think of a celebration or coming together? I mentioned a few podcasts ago that I feel like biryani is such a celebratory food.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to keep it light, keep it fun, and just talk about something that I think we're all passionate about, and we all enjoy.
It's funny that you said, how food is such a. I think food brings people together.
Yeah.
That's at the end of the day. And the beautiful thing about bringing people together is that you create memories over food.
Yeah.
Which is, I believe, why I have a few friends that are just so passionate about whether they are chefs or not, or in the food industry. And the one thing whenever I ask them is, why are you so passionate about it? Is, the fact of bringing people together and creating memories.
Yeah.
And so for me, whenever I think about certain individuals, it's funny how I can tie a certain food to
Right.
that individual. Like, for example,
When you see me, what food do you tell me to? Let me think.
actually,
I've never thought of it that way, though. That's
no,
such
but
a-
it's
yeah.
because it's, if you think about it, like, for example, if I think of it's difficult though, because for you, Shehlaa, when the food that we bond over or that we
Yeah.
have a similar liking to is, for example, poke.
Yeah.
Okay, but like poke bowls. if that is how you pronounce them. But for you to tie a food to you is difficult because you are, whether you like to say it or not, you are a cook. Like you cook, mashallah, so many types of dishes, savory, sweet. So it's
Yeah.
hard to pinpoint a food. But like, for example, with one of my very good friends in Bahrain, Ali Najjar. When I think of him, it was so funny. We actually had a conversation last week about how our friendship has evolved cuisinally, which is basically because what we generally do is we always whenever he comes over to Dubai to visit, we always used to like to go get something to like snack on and at night.
Okay.
So we started off with cupcakes.
Okay.
Like we would always have a favorite cupcake store next to the house, and then we evolved. we call it evolved. We evolved into macaroons.
Okay.
I remember when there was a macaroon store that opened in Dubai Mall, and then we now evolved into bubble tea. So now whenever he comes over, we have to have a bubble tea. So now whenever I do have a bubble tea, or if I ever go to that macaroon store, or if I ever go to that cupcake store,
he comes to mind.
And every time I have it, he always messages me and says, "Ya Khain, you traitor, you're eating it or you're drinking it without me."
He's actually listening because he listens to all our episodes. So he's going to be like,
and he knows the truest of friendships always fall back on food. I mean, let's be honest. But these are like some of the memories I think I tie with people.
Something for me that ties with a memory, not necessarily a person, is as we were decluttering the other day, we found one of my favorite childhood books, which if anyone's just curious, it's called, I think, Muffin Mouse's New House. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
And it's the word.
It's basically about this little mouse whose house gets destroyed by a storm.
Okay.
And then she has to go look for a new house. But the recurring thing is whenever she's upset, she has a cup of strawberry tea. Okay. And I remember when I was a kid.
How random.
Yeah, it's like super. And it's not technically it's a drink. It's not a food. But like, I remember like every time after my mom would read me that book, I'd want a cup of strawberry tea.
Yeah.
And it's like, even now, like, I don't particularly like love strawberry tea.
But
like, it doesn't taste that
that great.
It sounds better than it actually tastes.
Yeah.
It's basically like, I mean, if you can imagine what boiled strawberries would taste like, that's kind of what it. Like, I'm not trying to diss strawberry tea, but it's just like, it's not the greatest thing in the world. But anyways, but it's just like, it triggers such a fun memory because my mom would go out and buy me a box of strawberry tea.
Okay.
And they come in like sachets, like normal tea bags and stuff. It's like really weird. But yeah, it's one of those things, you know, whenever I think of strawberry tea, I'll think of that book and of my childhood. How about you, Shehlaa? Is there any memories that, or is this triggering anything?
That's the thing. There's a bunch. For example, with my family, we used to in Canada. Basically all my cousins, which I say all, they're literally two of my uncles and their kids. We used to get together every. So in Canada, of course, the weekend is Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
So we used to get together usually on the Saturday or Sunday of every week, and every week would be at someone else's house. So we would rotate within the three houses, and our house used to always make pizzas.
Okay.
And my dad would actually make them. Like he'd make the dough, he'd make the sauce.
It ain't no store-bought pizza.
No, and just like that's the thing. Like you said, Saleh, I have to think of a person, and then if I'm thinking food related, I'll have a food related to that person.
Yeah. Have you ever, being a cook yourself, have you ever tried to recreate your father's pizza?
I have, actually. There's one I haven't. He makes this potato and parsley one that is actually really good. Like, and it's as much as I say it's really good, that's my favorite pizza that he makes. And I haven't tried to make that one, but I've tried to make his other types of pizzas.
Yeah.
And I even like called him up and told him, okay, I need the dough recipe. So yeah, there are different recipes. Like again, it depends on the person.
Yeah.
I don't really think there's a specific memory.
And it's funny how sometimes, with obviously like when people pass. So like for example, my grandmother,
Yeah.
or both my grandmothers, Allah yarhamhum, when they had passed, it's funny how when people take recipes with them,
Yeah.
they'd leave them. I mean, they'd write them down, or they might
But
have
it's not the
passed them off to
same.
someone else,
Yeah.
but it's
Hassan's
never the
mom,
same.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my mom, Allah yarhamha, she also had lots of recipes that she just and like people loved them. Like they loved her
The
her stuffed
warag
vine leaves, warag anab, or dolma, they also call it. She did these. So in Iraqi we say kubba,
Yeah.
but you can say kibba
Yeah.
as well in other dialects.
It's basically it's basically potato, or
It's
potato
a rice
or
kubba.
rice kubba,
Yeah.
with meat inside.
And it's just like it's one of those Ramadan dishes that you has to be on the table, and it's just so comforting. And she'd put her own twist on both of these things
Yeah.
that made them so special and so what's the word? So
Unique?
unique to her. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is that even like I know the basic recipe and I put in whatever she used to put in. Like she used to put in, the dried red Iranian.
The barberry
what is it called?
berries, I think.
Yeah.
Oh
Or
yes,
barberries.
yes,
Yeah.
They're called barberry. Yes.
Is it barberries or barberry berries? Anyways,
Whatever.
Yeah.
they're like dried cranberries,
Yeah.
Basically.
kind
But
of.
they ain't no cranberry.
But they're not cranberries. No.
She used to always put that, and so like I would put that, or like pine nuts I would put it also, but it never really comes out exactly
Yeah.
the way she used to.
It's just it's remarkable, I feel, because it's these special things that keep people alive in your minds. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
yeah.
And sometimes it's not just about the food that someone makes that you can share a memory with. It could be
A food that you
a
associate.
food that you associate
them.
with that person. So like the one that I said with, my best friend Ali.
Yeah.
But it could be.
Thanks,
it could,
Saleh.
you guys are my best friends too.
No, you can't take it back.
And this is the last podcast you will ever hear.
No, but I completely know what you mean. With memories, especially like you said, I really associate the meal or food itself with the memories that it comes with.
Yeah.
Like even as you guys know, Thanksgiving for me, it's the majority of it is for me memories. The memories that are created during the day, baking, cooking, the messes that we end up happening, I remember, I don't know if we've ever said this, about one time we tried to make a lamb instead of a turkey.
Okay.
And
Oh,
remember
yeah.
that year?
Yeah, but I don't think we shared this.
No, we
beautiful
didn't
story.
share it. Yeah, but maybe for another time, just because it was such an embarrassment. But no, it's just that laughter that we shared, and then trying to fix the mistakes that were made.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that for
So
me,
it-
that's
yeah,
what.
it wasn't necessarily about the food, but the memories that centered
Exactly.
around that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Around preparing it. Yeah, and like you said, you mentioned Thanksgiving. So that's something. Even though we're not, it's not a tradition here.
Yeah.
My mom used to love preparing Thanksgiving meals and invite like the whole family pretty much,
Yeah.
because it was any excuse to get people together.
No, my mom kept on saying, "Hey, any celebration that has food on the table, I'm gonna
I'm
celebrate
gonna-
it."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and I remember and then that's a tradition actually, that, well, not a tradition, but that's something that we do, and it's a
Yeah.
memory, like you said, it's a
Now.
memory
We
of,
carried forward.
we carried
Yeah.
forward. So it always, for me myself, reminded me of Hassan's mom, Allah
Yeah.
yarhamha, and something that she did to bring all the family together. We
Yeah.
would come over and we would have roast turkey.
Yeah.
I would have all the
The
sides that
sides.
come
Yeah.
with it, the
Yeah.
cranberry sauce and everything. And then it was so beautiful that we managed to carry forward that
Yeah.
tradition.
That was mainly my important thing. Like for
Yeah.
me, after when I found out that
Obviously,
was her
Shehlaa
tradition.
is the one who carried forward the tradition.
No, but like the idea that this was something that she used to make, and especially that first year, I remember I was like, I don't want her to feel like she like there's I don't want everyone else to feel like there's a big gap.
Yeah.
or a
Like
big
feel her absence
Exactly.
too much. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Especially because everyone was talking about how she used to literally make it and bring the whole family together. And at the time, I'm like, okay, I think it's a big thing to be able to make it for the entire family.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I remember at the time, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to make it just for us. And then I think that's how we celebrated it with
Yeah.
you also.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, you
Yeah.
can, because of course we can't finish a whole turkey. And I remember getting like the smallest turkey I can find. And whereas last year, I think, was it? Where I
Yeah.
tried to get like the biggest turkey.
Yeah.
Just because, of course, it
Feeds more people.
Not only that, but like we slowly started adding people to
Yes, yeah,
to
exactly.
the group. And
That's the thing. You started to get more comfortable, and the gathering slowly started to grow.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like now it has like such a every time Thanksgiving comes around, I'm just, you know me, I'm so excited. I tell you guys, okay, do we do more traditional sides? Do we do like crazy, like different ones? What do we do?
I feel every time we try to steer away from the
Yeah.
main recipe, we end up. Remember when you were making what was that bread? It was something like a Yorkshire
Yorkshire
pudding.
pudding. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was such a disaster.
So
It
you know,
was horrible.
Shehlaa, God bless her soul. She always tries to be adventurous, and the thing is,
Guys.
it's a sign from the Lord that just says, you know what, stick to what you know.
We ended up, okay, so I don't know if anyone knows how to make Yorkshire pudding, but you basically have to put the Pyrex in, or the cupcake
Baking tray.
Yeah, the cupcake tray into because that's how you make it in the muffin tray.
Yeah.
You put it in the oven first with oil and let that really heat up. Take it out, put the dough in there, and then push it back in. And so when I did that, I think I overfilled it with oil, and then the oil just literally splattered everywhere, and the entire oven was just filled with oil, and it was just a mess.
But then it became a memory.
Exactly.
It became a lesson.
I don't remember. I think at the time we invited Alawi, your brother's, his wife.
Yeah.
And I remember I got so embarrassed because I'm like, this is her first time trying my cooking, and it comes out this horrible. And I remember even because we had I don't remember what other dishes needed to go in the oven, and they basically just tasted like smoke the entire
Like
night.
burnt oil.
Yeah.
Listen, I can't argue because like the closest thing I've ever come to cooking was making cereal, burning
Coffee.
toast.
Did you ever make coffee?
And like a proper coffee, or you mean the whole Nescafe
I think
coffee?
the Nescafe
Oh yeah, the
coffee.
Nescafe. Yeah, I would make some. It wouldn't be good, but like I remember trying. And maybe people can relate. But when I went to university abroad, I obviously was your first year abroad.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm gonna cook for myself. I'm gonna be an independent person.
Yeah.
And so. Obviously, I had no experience back home. I was literally, I was blessed to have family that, my mom and everyone,
Yeah.
whenever I'd go to my friends' houses, the food would just be there. So I would never have to cook. So when I went there, I forgot the main rule of portions, and like,
Oh yeah, cooking for one.
Cooking for one. I never knew what that meant. So I would actually just go online and look for recipes. And let's just say,
Of course,
in a
it makes
period-
like for 3 or 4.
yeah, and so in a period of 5 days. Oh, and I wouldn't. So obviously, I'd make like for example, the first day I'd make pasta, and I make pasta enough for 4. So I feel bad that I'm not finishing it, right?
Yeah.
So I'd not eat for 1. I'd eat for 2 because I felt obviously bad. Now you have half the pasta left that I put in the refrigerator.
You
the
eat that
next
the
day,
next day.
no. The thing is, when you ate double your amount the day before, the last thing you want is you want more the next day.
Yeah.
So I'd make another pasta, and then the cycle went on. And then after 5 days, I literally had like 5 trays of pasta,
Oh my
of
God.
different pastas. And I looked and I was like, so
Didn't
this
you
is
learn
not.
a lesson though?
Yeah, I was like, this is not sustainable. So I stayed the next 3.5 years microwaving my meals. Literally, all I
But
had
I mean,
were microwave meals.
all you have to do was divide the measurements.
Oh no, that was too much for me. Like, God bless Tesco in the UK. They supported and
They fed you.
They fed me. This is not sponsored ad, but like they basically, I had literally my breakfasts were always cereals, and my lunch and my dinners were always microwaved meals.
But pivoting slightly, what is a food that you maybe didn't like or never had or whatever when you were younger, but you grew to enjoy, or you have a taste for now. So I have two older sisters. The younger of the two, I used to think was so cool because she would eat sushi. And this I'm talking like in late 90s, early 2000s. And
When Hassan was a wee 2 years old.
wow, I wish I was that young. But so I used to think like her eating sushi was the coolest thing. So I wanted to eat sushi.
Yeah.
And I tried it, and it was, to me,
Horrible.
the most disgusting thing I've ever put in my mouth. And but I was like, no, I'm determined to like this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I just kept eating it, and not in the same sitting,
Yeah.
but over like the months or the years. And now I love sushi.
Yeah.
And obviously that has something to do with, how your palate changes and you have a taste for different things. Maybe there's cheeses that you like now that you would never have touched when you were a kid. But that's something for me. How about for you guys?
For me, funny enough, I hate, so Hassan knows this, I hate chicken liver or any type of, like, honestly, anything that isn't just normal meat.
Okay.
Okay?
So like no innards, basically.
Yeah.
I hate it. I can't. Like, my mom would cook it, and I used to hate them as a kid. I still hate them. Eggplants, I hate them baked. I only like them fried. Still hate them baked. Still like them fried.
So you're saying your palate has not changed since you were a
The
child,
only thing
essentially.
is, like you were saying, sushi. In Ottawa, and Hassan saw this, there wasn't that many sushi varieties. So I never really used to really like it, or never really tried it, just because I was like, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Coming here and seeing how big sushi is, I tried it, and I tried it the first time with Hassan.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, okay, I'm finally trying sushi. What's the big deal? It's not that great. Now, I love sushi. You guys know this. I think once I learned, like, I still don't like raw salmon.
Yeah.
Still the same thing. I sound very boring, I know, but, like, these are the things that I tried them. I tried them as a kid, and then I tried them as an adult.
And you just
No, there are things that I used to eat as a kid
yeah.
that I tried now, especially when I went back to Canada. There's a lot of, like, snacks we used to have. I've tried them now.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
And they're not the same. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, do I really like this?
Yeah.
Like,
Even there's those, like, yeah, I remember you even recently you used to tell me that you love those Haribo peach gummies.
yeah, I tried them
And
recently.
then you
I'm
tried
just
them
like,
recently. You're like, I used to like these.
I'm like, why? Like, only in the first 5 seconds do I like it because of the sugar. And then I try
The
the inside, and I'm
aftertaste,
just
yeah.
like, no, why? Like, and I used to love those. When I say I used to love them, like, literally, I can have them as much. Turtles, I don't know if you guys have had those chocolate turtles.
Okay. For a second, I was like, what do you eat in Canada? Like turtles? Is it like normal?
No, chocolate turtles. Have you
Okay.
ever had chocolate turtles?
I-
Chocolate pecan turtles.
No.
Saleh,
They
what's your
weren't a
life?
thing here.
No,
No.
I only tried them when
You
you
were
brought
there.
them back from
Aren't
from
they
Canada.
addictive though, Hassan?
They're really good. It's basically like chocolate stuffed with caramel and pecans, but they're shaped like a turtle.
Okay.
Yeah, and not even. It's not purposely.
No real turtles were
No.
hurt in the
No.
front.
They're not even really shaped like turtles. I think it's just because it's basically it's
It's a round
Pecan.
blob with like points.
Yeah.
So, but
On the
that's
sides.
why they look like
turtles.
turtles. Yeah.
And so I remember just them being called turtles. I don't remember the exact brand or anything.
Yeah.
they
I just
are
remember-
called chocolate turtles.
They're
I think.
called?
I don't know the brand, but they are
Yeah.
called that.
Two things that actually what you said kind of remind me of something. So one thing, okay, so in terms of things that we've tried maybe while we were younger and we ended up liking, or vice versa, for me it was when I was younger, I always used to so I don't know if this is the right way to say it, or this is how they pronounce it, but mortadella.
Yeah.
Right? Mortadella, right?
I think
Yeah.
it's mortadella.
Mortadella, whatever
don't
it
know.
I
is.
call it mortadella.
But it's basically, for me, I used to be so. Remember how I
Oh,
used to
you
be
used to
so
obsessed,
addicted
yeah.
as a kid? Like I would have
And you would
them.
even get like the pre-sliced. You'd get the one in the can.
Yeah,
like,
so I don't know.
What?
I don't know if people
It's like a
are
tube
aware.
of
It's like
processed
a
meat.
Tube of processed meat. And it's like basically a huge sausage, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then we used to cut it into slices, like thin slices, and put it in a sandwich. And we
Wouldn't
used to
it,
eat
sorry,
that.
be so hard to cut it into slices? I feel like without the
No.
machine.
No. The texture is
it's
very
tender.
soft.
It's like a hot dog, kind of.
It's literally like a hot dog.
Like a
texture.
giant hot dog.
So I used to love that. Now, as an adult, I actually can't stand it.
Yeah.
Because of the idea that it's processed meat.
Yeah.
Is
And it's
just-
all the like gross bits of
I
the
don't
want
want to know.
Yeah.
Like it's just Hassan remembers because literally in our house we used
Yeah,
to have
it was like
every
the
day.
like snack.
Yeah.
Snack food. Like
Or-
if you want a quick sandwich,
Yeah.
it would
But
be
see,
that.
that used to be the same thing with us, and even Hassan Saleh when we were in Canada. My family, it was so easy for them just to get back into routine, and just that was always like a go-to, like
Yeah.
sliced cold cuts,
Yeah.
and just put that in a sandwich.
Yeah,
Different
but
types
your
of
cold cuts were normal. Like it would probably be like
That
turkey.
tube thing, yeah, but that tube thing, I've never even seen
Yeah,
that.
you don't want to. Please don't feel
But-
feed
Like, I've
your
seen
child
them-
that.
I've seen them in like stores, but I never really. No, sorry, I haven't seen the canned ones. I've seen like.
Next time
next time we go, I'll
to a
take a
store,
picture.
I'll show you.
Yeah. Another thing that
It's one of those things you see in the store and you're like, who would ever buy this?
me. Mom, I love you. But another thing that you reminded me about, the fact of like childhood sweets or childhood things that you'd eat. I think that's actually one of the reasons why a lot of restaurants that we see now are using some ingredients basically because it sparks memories of
Yeah,
nostalgia.
that's
So if you think
true.
about it, like for us, at least in Dubai,
Chips
you
Oman.
have chips Oman, you have
Yeah.
Leban Up, you
Yes.
have Nutella.
Yeah.
So these are
Was
things.
Lotus something for you guys, or it just started?
I don't think so.
It wasn't.
I
No.
f- Although I feel like the actual Lotus cookie or biscuit has been around for
Yes,
ages.
the
Like
Lotus-
it looks
I
very
remember-
familiar.
Yeah.
We never had it called Lotus, but I remember we used to have
remem-
that similar
exactly,
type of
and
cookie.
we never used to say, oh, we want Lotus, but I remembered it existing.
Hmm.
But basically now brands everywhere are using these ingredients
Yeah.
into their cuisines, and it's
Yeah.
because it sparks nostalgia. So it's funny how dishes can
Yeah.
remind you of your childhood, and then you just want to have it just because.
I feel like now all the listeners are just gonna have all these different cravings.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, a tip from me, your handy chef who knows how to cook nothing at all. I tried once to create a cake. And it began to look like mush. So whenever you have a mishap in the kitchen when it comes to sweets, remember to always cover it in a huge lump of Nutella, and no one will ever know that you messed up, because that's my go-to. So if you ever see me coming in to the room with Nutella over something, that's because I messed it up, and the Nutella is to
See,
mask it.
That's something actually that I used to not. Well, actually, I used to like, and now I don't like as well.
What, Nutella?
Never mind. Yeah, I used to actually
Can we
eat
just
Nutella.
end this right now? Can I dramatically
Sorry,
like,
guys.
act
This
as
is
a-
the end of the episode, the end of the podcast, actually.
Can I dramatically just make a sound like I'm walking away from the mic?
Actually, if Nutella, you want to sponsor us and help change Shehlaa's mind, then
Prove me wrong, but I've just never been a fan. I found it was just a bit overpowering.
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, in a
I
good
can
way,
hear
but
like the
sure.
gasps.
Yeah.
But
I'll
yeah,
do it
it's
for
just-
you.
but yeah, it's just I've tried. I like it. I'll eat it a bit, but I can't have like a Nutella cake or anything like that.
That's
too
okay.
much.
More for us.
I don't
but
mind.
with that, I think we've maybe gone a bit over time, but I think this has been an enjoyable episode for me to reminisce about different foods we used to have or different things we used to enjoy.
I don't think there's such a thing as overtime when it comes to food.
True, that's
I mean,
true.
honestly, I can talk about the subject.
Yeah,
for,
and I'm
like-
literally, as we're wrapping up,
I
can
have
think,
more
I can think of a bunch of different things.
I mean,
that-
let us know. Maybe you want a part 2.
I'm just-
Why not?
All I'm thinking about right now is that mango cake in your fridge that I am dying to have a slice
what
of.
mango?
The one
Okay.
he.
The
Oh,
one
you
that I
brought
just
over a
Yeah,
mango
I mean,
cake?
it's not for you.
Okay, bye,
but-
guys. No, I'm kidding. But we are wrapping up. Thank you guys so much for listening. As always, please reach out to us. Let's have this discussion. We want to hear from you. What are some fond memories you have surrounding food? What are some childhood dishes you used to eat.
Yeah, and maybe you had like something that you would want us to try and to actually
Yeah,
see.
that would be really nice. So there's a few ways you can reach out to us as always, either on our email, letsallscream.podcast@gmail.com, or on Instagram and Facebook @letsallscream. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.